gosh, look at the crowd.
Come this way.
Those who spread goodness radiate happiness to everyone around them. Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
Welcome to LMDtv. I am Ashwini Vethakan, and joining us this week on Talking Business is the Group Managing Director of JAT Holdings, Tania Wettimuny. Welcome to the show, Tania. It's good to have you with us.
Thanks for inviting, Ashwini, and I really appreciate that.
Tania, what are the emerging trends in the logistics sector?
There are so many trends that have emerged in the recent past. I must say the COVID-19 pandemic, things have taken a completely different turn in every industry, not just in logistics per se. So that means us as the service providers in today's context should be more agile, and we should be able to provide the real-time solutions to our customers, because with the pandemic, everything has turned upside down. So nobody planned to have any solution for this kind of things, right? So we have to start thinking out of box. Because why we have to be tech savvy? Because you have to move away from doing a lot of manual work and embrace maybe artificial intelligence in some larger operations, having right data at the right time, and to make sure that our back office is properly automated and process driven. These are some of the things for you to do on the technical side of it. Then it comes to the connectivity, what is really important. We all have to be connected with the board agencies, customs, BOI, Ports Authority. So all have to be interconnected to provide these real-time and quick solutions. So, and then going beyond that, to provide e-documentation, right? So that means we cut down on communication or meeting people on face-to-face, but it's processed in terms of electronically. So and then there's some things have really emerged, which we cannot also forget: the protecting and being conscious of the environment, be it the reducing carbon footprint, paperless environment. So there are so many things have emerged in the recent past. And so then comes to the, we have seen so many other trends that are taking place in global level, or mostly in the global level. Larger networks merging together, right? And then some of the government held logistic companies are being sold off. Then we also have seen the trends that are some smaller providers and networks becoming really, really strong in specific markets and verticals, capitalizing the larger mergers. When larger mergers happen sometimes in different markets and in different verticals, that create a vacuum. So the smaller networks and the smaller service providers have really taken or capitalized in this situation and had become quite strong. So these are some of the things that have come up in the recent past.
The End Poverty in South Asia, a blog by the World Bank, states the inefficiencies of the logistics sector in Sri Lanka. In your opinion, what factors need to be addressed to make our logistics sector more resilient?
Okay, the World Bank blog. Honestly, I have not seen this blog by the World Bank, so I cannot comment too much about it. But I vaguely recall, I think they were talking about what is taking place domestically. They're talking about the domestic inefficiencies, waste of domestic produce, lack of supply chain, especially in the areas of cold chain distribution, to make sure that what is being produced gets to the consumer on time. I think that's what they're talking about. So I think this is something both private sector and the government should work together. We cannot forget the local infrastructure. It's very crucial if you want to make sure what is being produced locally that goes to consume on time, fresh, at a certain time frame, the local infrastructure is a key, because for the local distribution, you have to have a proper infrastructure. And today we are so much dependent on the road transportation. I remember a few years ago, I cannot mention the name of the factory, but they were in Norelia and they use rail quite a bit to bring their, it was an apparel company, they used rail to bring the containers to Colombo. But sadly today we are so dependent on the road transportation. So this is something that we really have to address to make sure what is being produced locally is being distributed properly to the consumers. I must also address the international logistics. We are way ahead of many ISC countries, including our neighbor India. Our services and service offerings and efficiencies and reliability, we are far ahead of most countries in the continent. If you look at in terms of processing import 1 to 2 days, sometimes it's faster than that. Processing of export, we do it within hours. So we are in international logistics, we are well ahead of most countries in the region. But I must say, so for us to improve in our ranking in global logistic index, we must make sure that we improve our infrastructure, local infrastructure in ports and the airports, as our customers and the customers of theirs or our agents or our network partners will always compare our services or our infrastructure with the countries of Dubai or Singapore. So for us to capitalize Sri Lanka as a hub, we must make sure that we have proper infrastructure in place. Apart from infrastructure, I must also say that we have to make sure that our maritime policies are in line with what's happening elsewhere in the world. We have some of the most archived policies in Sri Lanka today, and we have to make sure that these policies are conducive to businesses, and we must look at in terms of bringing foreign investment. For us to bring foreign investment, to improve ease of doing businesses, we have to have a proper national policies in place.
Tania, in your opinion, what should be the government's role in supporting the logistics sector during this time?
I believe government should focus on improving our infrastructure and support us to bring down the high cost of doing business. These two must be addressed really quickly. Also must facilitate the discussions with the industry stakeholders to work with the board agencies to improve institutional deficiencies. This is a must. So government also must have policies that are conducive, very conducive to business, because we need to improve on ease of doing business index, and this is paramount for us.
And on that note, we'll be going in for a short break. Welcome back to the show as we continue our conversation with the Group Managing Director of JAT Holdings, Tania Wettimuny. Tania, a recent McKinsey report on the logistics sector's forecasting for 2021 states that the planning for next year or so will require a different approach. How do you expect our local transportation and logistic companies to cope with this challenge?
See, as you know, fighting against the COVID-19 is not won yet. Right? We are not even sure what to expect next, Ashwini. As such, I feel any strategy or any planning should be based on short term. The bounce back of certain main economies, which are our main markets such as EU or USA, will have a direct impact in our businesses. Of course, we have to keep a close tab on India's recovery after the pandemic. And of course, China moves will have a direct impact on Sri Lanka. I personally believe certain disruptions create space for entrepreneurs and crisis sparks a way of innovation. The logisticians, us as logisticians, must accelerate the use of new technology. We have no way out if we don't embrace this. Digitalization and new forming new working partnerships to build supply chain redundancies and to increase the use of advanced technology is a must. So I think anyhow, in today's context, we cannot plan long-term strategy. We have to work on a short-term strategy. We cannot forget, we must be very watchful of what's happening in our neighboring countries and in our main markets when we are strategizing our businesses, even on a short-term strategy.
Tania, at a recent panel discussion, it was mentioned that only 3% of female employees work in the Sri Lankan logistics sector. So what initiatives are in place to help encourage more female workers into this particular industry?
So normally, I must tell you, I don't participate in many interviews or panel discussions. But in the recent past, I'm doing it very consciously because I think we as women in senior positions must create that awareness among the young girls of today. Associations such as Vista, Villet, then CASA, SLAFA are taking a lot of interest to make sure that they create this awareness. I must say, creating awareness itself is not enough. It's an individual thing. Now, if you look at, I'm not even from Colombo, I'm from Kurunegala, I studied in Kandy. I joined as a management trainee. During my tenure of 30 years, almost 30 years, I have worked for public quoted companies. I have worked for the 6th largest logistic company in the world as their MD and the local shareholder. Since 3 years, I have created my own company. I have started my own business, became an entrepreneur. So the industry, even though it's perceived to be a male dominant, if you think this is something that you want to pursue as a career in logistics, there are so many opportunities for young girls today. But at the end of the day, associations or the seniors like us, I mean, we have so many senior leaders. I have my good friend Shahara Jawad, deputy chairperson McLaren's. We have then Nirmali Pereira, main board director of Pership. Diruni Chanmugam, CEO of Sherman Logistics. We have current CEO of Hemas Holdings, Kasturi Wilson. She was also MD of maritime sector before. So you can see we have lots of seniors who are in the industry today. So that means it's not we have got these opportunities because we are women, but we have really worked hard to get to where we are today. So if any young girl today, if they feel, if they're passionate about joining logistic industry, I can say, do so, don't worry. You'll be treated equally. I'm sure any industry will have challenges, not just the logistic or not because it's male or female dominant. I think it's up to the individual to work hard and have a career path and be focused and work towards it. I must say this industry has a lot of opportunities, and I would encourage any young girl or any female to consider joining logistics.
What are your expectations for the supply chain and logistics sector in the mid to long term?
The midterm challenge is to move forward from reacting to the crisis to building institutionalizing what has been done so far. The migrating from manual work to system-driven business model is very important. Personalizing the customer experiences, what we have experienced through this pandemic, right? We have to make use of that experiences. And the visibility and predictability and long-term investment in upskilling and reskilling, capacity building, it's a really important area that we have to work towards. Then we also have to, these experiences will go hand in hand with the current social and political stability. The government must support aligning our maritime and national policies in line with what's happening elsewhere in the world, as I mentioned before. We have to make sure Sri Lanka, as a country, Sri Lanka, we encourage the foreign investment. We have to make sure we make use of our geographical advantage by creating very business conducive and investor friendly environment in our industry, because we are always talking about creating hub. We cannot just say we have a geographical advantage and not improve on other things that will support our geographical advantage. So I think these are some of the things that we have to look at mid to long term as a country, as an industry, and we need definitely government support in those areas to improve.
With a strong, transparent network being key to the country's development, what skills and capabilities are required to help boost Sri Lanka's economic growth?
It's a very technical question, and I don't have data or any information to support you technically on that. But I must say, I really want to emphasize the importance of having logistics in our secondary education system. As today, many of our companies struggle to find properly trained resources to support our businesses. So it's no point us having logistics at university level or at degree level. We have to make sure, if we want to encourage, if we are serious about creating Sri Lanka as a logistic hub, while we focus on developing infrastructure, we cannot also forget the need of having properly trained human resources. So how do we do this? We have to make sure that we have a logistic included into our secondary education system, and we have it in our curriculum. Sadly, when we recruit resources, we hire staff, when we train them, eventually they also leave to other countries. Of course, you can't blame them. Everybody wants to get a better opportunity and exposure. So we struggle, we go back and forth, and we recruit from our competition, which is also not always very healthy. And then we don't have, again, we go back to the zero because we don't have, again, trained human resources. So I must say, for transportation, for logistics, to develop in this country, while we are focusing on policies, infrastructure, foreign investment, improving ease of doing business, improving our ranking in global logistic index, we cannot forget the fundamental of having trained human resources in place to support our businesses and to grow logistic to the next level.
Well, that's all the time we have for this segment. Thank you for joining us on the show this evening, Tania.
Thanks a lot for inviting me, and I really appreciate your time.
Coming up, we have the latest from Life on Earth. Stay tuned.
You love the feeling of being renewed. To stay beautiful every single day. To breathe just like we do. Because you are truly delicate, protecting the ones who've been with us through the years. With Sayalak Care, the only wood coating that truly protects you. Select Wood Coatings from JAT.
Welcome back, and here's the latest from Life on Earth. The pandemic negatively impacted sleep routines last year, with 70% of respondents to the 6th Philips Global Sleep Survey report experiencing one or more new sleep challenges since its emergence. According to the survey, 43% say waking up at night is a challenge, while 37% believe the pandemic is impacting their ability to sleep well. Furthermore, while the recommended amount of night sleep for healthy adults is between 7 to 9 hours, those polled sleep 6.9 hours a weeknight and 7.7 hours a weekend night on average. According to the survey, 55% of adults globally are satisfied with their sleep. India's sleep satisfaction is the highest at 67%, followed by China at 57%, the Netherlands at 55%, Singapore at 49% and Germany at 47%. The report notes that 48% of respondents state that the pandemic negatively impacted their stress. Furthermore, 24% of those polled cite stress as the main barrier to a good night's sleep. In addition to the pandemic, respondents are also stressed about financial challenges and work responsibilities. 84% of people surveyed say they use mobile phones in bed, up from 74% in the 2020 survey. Of these, around 4 in 10 are reading news about the pandemic or political events. Meanwhile, 32% of respondents use family members as a resource to learn more about sleep or sleep treatments. And 70% use online search engines to learn about these topics, with many doing so for the first time during the pandemic. Additionally, 58% of those consulted report being willing to use telehealth services for sleep-related needs in the future, compared to 36% for non-sleep-related concerns. Gender also appears to play a role in the sleep discrepancies, with 39% of women report that the pandemic has negatively impacted their sleep routine versus 33% of men. And that's all we have for this week. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching and stay safe.